Welcome to AMP, the platform for multisport age group athletes to showcase their journeys. Welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 13, unlucky for some, and it was definitely unlucky for me. Even though I had a fail-safe plan of 2 backups of the recording, on episode 13 that all went to cock. So thankfully Megan agreed that she would come back and finish off the podcast, as we got 27 minutes in and then nothing. Also, got to admit on this one, the sound quality of the first 27 minutes, for some reason, isn't very good. We do make amends in the last 10-15 minutes when Megan came back, and the sound quality is a lot better. So, please bear with us. Apologies in advance. Not up to our usual standard, but these things happen. Right, a few updates now. We've had various guests on the show, and some of them have been up to some weird and wonderful things over the last few weeks. We'll start off with David Pearson, who was on episode 8, and he cycled from Bristol to Mablethorpe. That's 400 kilometres across country in some of the worst conditions you can imagine. So that's a great effort from David there. And if you want to see some of the pictures and video of the conditions that he actually had to put up with, have a look at his Instagram. And they're all on there, so well done, David. Matt Baldock, who was on episode 5, he raced at Alton Park and he finished 3rd overall, so that was a fantastic finish, fantastic race. Well done, Matt. And on episode 10 we had Alf Lakin, the 80-year-old from the Gold Coast in Australia. Well, he's recently been taking part in a qualifier, duathlon, for the Almere World Championships for next September. So well done, Alf. Videos look good, pictures look great, and you can catch Alf on Facebook, Alf Lakin, if you want to check out his results. Also, the virtual London Marathon took place last weekend, and there was over 47,000 people took part, and my wife Kate was one of them, and she smashed it. So she had a help of a posse of 15 friends giving her support, which was very humbling. She was doing it for a great charity close to our hearts, which was the cardiac rehab of Louth, and she raised over £500, so well done, great effort. And finally, can't leave without mentioning a bit of cycling, can I? Been watching the Giro this week. It's weird when a plastic water bottle puts out the race favourite. Geraint Thomas, in a bizarre incident, hit a bottle that was thrown out of somebody's bike by the bumpy road, and he went over it and he crashed, and he's out of the race with a fractured pelvis. So get well soon, G. If you didn't have bad luck, you would have no luck at all. Looking forward to watching the rest of that. Keep on racing, guys. Keep sending in the results. We'll get them mentioned on here, all your hard efforts and your hard work. So well done to everybody so far. So on episode 13's guest, Maria Powell. She's a GB age grouper, and she's also a medical student. She spent 8 years at uni, and while she was at uni she rode and played netball up at Newcastle University, and a shoulder injury made her have a rethink about changing her sport. And funnily enough, she was coached by Sarah Harding, who was on episode 6 at netball. It's a small world. And she grew up watching her mum Maria Powell, race around the world, who herself is a successful age group. And the family used to have training camps in Lanzarote. So she was inspired by her mum to take up the sport, but she really didn't want to step on her mum's toes. So I guess it was inevitable that she was going to find a way into multisport at some point. Since taking up the sport and qualifying to represent GB, Megan's had a whole host of success, and this includes first in the 25 to 29 Sprint Duathlon Championships this year in Punta Umbria, and She was second in the 20 to 24 and third female overall in the Sprint Duathlon Championships in 2009 at Targu Muurs. She was also second in the 2024 Standard World Championship 2019 in Pontevedra and 2018 in Finn. So she's got a great palmarès, and she fits in a medical studying around a training, or is it the other way around? Fits in a training around a medical studying, probably. But we've had a fantastic chat, very knowledgeable, very dedicated, and I hope you enjoy.
Is on AMP. Thanks for coming on and agreeing to do this and sharing your story with everybody. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been looking forward to doing it. Yeah.
So, how's lockdown been for you?
It's been interesting. It was quite challenging at the start. Obviously all the kind of club training shut down. It became a lot more individually based, which was okay for a while, but obviously now it's been a bit of a long period of time. My university course, which I'm doing, has all gone online for a bit, which was also quite challenging, so spending a lot more time at home was just different. I'm normally a very busy, out-and-about person, so then I was just confined to my home really, and going out and about occasionally, so it's quite challenging. But obviously more recently things are opening up a bit more. It's got better. I've been back on placement, seeing patients, which has been good, and in terms of my training I've been meeting the odd person for some rides, but generally still on my own. So yeah, it's been okay.
Okay, yeah. So whereabouts are you in the country?
So I'm in London. I'm studying here, and I live here pretty much full time now with my boyfriend Hugh. So we live in South West London.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're studying to become a doctor?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm in my final year now of a 5-year course to become a doctor. Should qualify and start work next August.
Right, exciting times.
Yeah, it's very exciting, obviously, given the current climate as well. There's going to be a lot of things to consider in my kind of career and what's going to be happening when I start work. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I've been at uni for 8 years now,
wow.
So as you can imagine, it's
that's a long time.
Having a full-time job. And yeah, I just want to get out there and start doing what I'm really passionate about. So,
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we should start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background and your sporting events of childhood, and just take it from there up to age group, really. How you got into it?
So I first started doing triathlon and multisport events about 4 years ago now, when I first started university at King's. Although I will kind of say, prior to that, I've grown up in a very kind of triathlon-focused family. My mum, Maria Powell, is a very successful age group athlete herself, and I spent most of my childhood going on family holidays around the world to watch her race. I myself didn't really want to get too involved with this sport, and I quite liked team sports at the time, so I didn't take it up when I was younger. But I do used to love the buzz of going to these races and the atmosphere, and because she was quite successful as well, it was just nice. Yeah, it was just such a great community to be in. And then, so actually when I did my first degree in Newcastle, I took up rowing there, which I ended up doing quite competitively, and that's what kind of gave me my first kind of insight into I guess you could say kind of performance sport, and actually committing to training and the lifestyle around it. So I did that for a year and a half. We were training twice a day, every day, out in the Tyne in all sorts of weather conditions. It was great. I absolutely loved it, and I was obsessed with it. But I was falling asleep in my lectures all the time, and because I was doing this first degree as a kind of step into medicine, I knew I actually had to start thinking about doing quite well in it so that I could progress with what I wanted to do in the future. So I gave up the rowing, started doing a bit more running. So running is something I've always done as a kid, mainly as a kind of stress release through fun. I used to do the odd fun run with my mum, but never anything particularly competitive. It was more team sports for me when I was at school. So when I was in my final year of my first year up in Newcastle, I did netball. So I took up netball. And actually I was coached by Sarah, who you had on here on episode 6.
Yes, I believe.
We've kind of ended up in the same sport again.
Yeah, weird.
And yeah, so netball was great for a year. I was doing some running on the side, but I kind of got a bit fed up with team sports, and groups of girls can be quite nasty sometimes, and I just wanted to have a bit more kind of independence and choose kind of what I wanted to do in terms of training. So I also conveniently at this point in my life met my boyfriend Hugh, who had done a few Ironman triathlons. He was at university with me as well, and I started watching him do some cycle racing, and I thought, oh, this looks really fun. So he was doing some crit racing, and I was like, oh, I'd love to have my own road bike and give a go at this sort of thing. So kind of with that inspiration, my mum's kind of background in triathlon, to want to go into more individual sports, I decided before I started my degree at King's that I was going to take up triathlon, and I asked for a road bike for my 21st birthday just before I started uni.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I went from there.
Right. I was just going to say, you didn't really have much chance not getting into triathlon with that background and your boyfriend. It's almost if the sporting world was conspiring against you to get into multisport.
Yeah, it's funny when I kind of talk about how I got into it. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the inevitable, and it was just at what point in my life would I end up falling into it, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't really want to go back to any other sport at the moment anyway.
No.
I love it.
So what was the bike that your mum bought you for your 21st birthday?
So, this is, well, one of the convenient things about having a mum who's really into sport is that she was obviously quite knowledgeable about bikes, and was like, well, there's no point getting a really cheap one to start. We'll get you kind of a relatively good one. So I went around a few different bike shops. I just looked at the ones which were pretty, and my mum had to talk to the person about the spec of the bike and all that sort of thing. I knew nothing about bikes at that point. I just wanted one that looked nice. So I got a specialised Emira, which I still ride now. It's my favourite road bike. It's kind of it's a carbon frame with, I'd say with mechanical gears, but it's such a nice bike to ride, good to race on, kind of a really good all-round bike. I should probably look to upgrade, or it's quite old now, but it still works really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first bike.
Nice.
I remember going out on my birthday. I didn't want to use clip-in shoes for a while, so I was with trainers, and there's quite a funny old picture of me looking like a complete chopper, I would say. But I absolutely loved it. And yeah, my boyfriend came along with me and my mum, and I was so nervous and tedious on the bike, but I soon kind of got a bit more confident. Obviously gained more confidence since then, but looking back at it in hindsight, it's always funny.
Yeah, great. That's really good. Really good. So, obviously you knew all about Agegroup. I don't have to ask you the question of how you got into Agegroup, because that was a given, wasn't it, with your mum's history and background. So from starting and getting into cycling, and obviously you did the running, what was the first race that you entered, and how did that come about?
So the first proper race that I did, so I'd actually that summer before I started uni, my mum was recovering from a foot injury, so she had a lot of triathlon races, and she converted into relay events, and I would do the run leg of them. So that was kind of my first intro into how the events would run. Obviously I was just doing the run part of it, but then I joined uni, and obviously with uni you have what we call BUCS, the university competitions, and in that November, so I started in September, in November it was BUCS/Duathlon, which is a 2-mile run, 10-mile bike, 2-mile run at Castle Coombe, and that was my first proper multisport race. So I fully engaged with the triathlon programme with at King's, and yeah, I did it, and it went okay, I think. I mean, I've now done it, gosh, it'll be my 5th time this year doing that race. I absolutely love racing at Castle Coombe.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of actual triathlon, where I did it all multisport race from start to finish. And I remember transitions being that thing which I'd always seen my mum do in the garden practicing growing up, and thinking, oh, that stuff over as quickly as possible. But I hadn't quite realised kind of when you're actually racing how knackered you are when you're trying to do all these things and work out where you need to go and all that. Obviously my mum was quite interested to see how I got on, so she came and watched me for, well, she watched quite a few of my races, but the first one, and I had quite a lot of support going into it, which was quite good. So that was my first duathlon, and then I did my first triathlon at Eton-Dorney in May that year. So swimming has never been my forte, and I did a little bit of it growing up, but I'm a relatively just average swimmer. But I started kind of swimming a little bit in the build up to it, and I entered a super sprint, I think it was, at Eton-Dorney, and this was a couple of weekends before BUCS, because I was quite worried about BUCS triathlons, so I wanted to get a little practice race in. So I did that, and I thought my swimming was pretty average, but I remember getting in the water, and I was leading the race, and I could see no one around me, and I was expected to be sighting. I'd planned to just follow the person in front of me, and I was like, oh crap, that's me. So I remember, doing that. I was first out the swim, then the bike, and then the run, and that was it. And I was like, oh, that's my first triathlon done, and it was, again, a really nice experience. My mum came and watched. I think she might have raced earlier on in the day in a longer event, and then came and watched. And that was my first kind of triathlon race. And then, from there we then had BUCS races. And
so what is the BUCS races? Is that part? I know you said it's university. What was the? Was it Newcastle or was it when you moved to London?
This is when I moved to London.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
Somewhere between there and moving down to London was when I got my bike and started knowing I want to join the Triathlon Club. And then that September I started my 5 years at King's in London. So that first year was when I did my first duathlon and first triathlon.
Right. And is the training regime at the university club, the BUCS, is it good? Has it helped?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first year I was there, it's quite a friendly, relaxed atmosphere. It's definitely not like the rowing program I'd experienced up at Newcastle. There wasn't a head coach. It was very much student-led, people with their experience kind of sharing ideas. We were lucky that we had really good access to a pool, which was right next to where I lived and where my lecture room was. Obviously, cycling and running around London is a bit more challenging, particularly cycling, but we did, the club had some turbo trainers and do sessions. So it was quite relaxed. So my first year, when I was sort of new, it was quite relaxed, and I just kind of didn't have particularly a structure as such, but there were a variety of sessions on, and you just came along to them, which is what I did.
Yeah.
And then after that, I actually, because I was so kind of engrossed with the sport, I actually managed to recruit my mum to become the coach for the club.
Oh, right, okay.
We live in Bristol, that's our kind of family home, but she would coach remotely, and so she set up a bit more structure to our training eventually.
Sure.
Which she's been doing for the last 3 years. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all the experience and knowledge that she'd bring to that would be massive for a university club, you know. Be invaluable, really. Brilliant, and it's great for her to give back. Does she coach generally at a club herself?
Yeah, so she's a level 2 coach. So she coaches Bristol and District Triathlon Club.
Right.
Does a lot of the junior section. So yeah, she's really enjoys coaching, and she coached me personally for quite a few years, as well as doing this kind of remote stuff for the Triathlon Club. So so she obviously has a lot of knowledge, but also the qualifications and what have you.
Great. So on that, from a coaching point of view, what sort of coaching regime do you do from, say we take, obviously this year's not an ordinary year, but if we revert back to 2019, how does your year pan out? Obviously you've got your A races, but how does the plan work out for you? What does your coach set you up?
So it's a bit of a challenge being someone who wants to compete in both triathlon and duathlon, because obviously duathlon's more winter sport and triathlon's in the summer, but you can't really keep the season going the whole year round. So I normally plan in my major races, so world and European races first, which up till now have been purely duathlon events, but they're often sometimes so the university competition is quite important. I'm a sponsored athlete for the university, so they've got to be a priority race for me as well.
Yeah.
And then once I've kind of looked at my year, we then start to plan some form of training cycle around it, obviously trying to take into account my exams and everything else going on in life as well. So that's kind of, we go from there once you've got your races in. So actually, as I said, I worked with my mum for the last few years, and more recently, because I wanted to get more, kind of improve my cycle leg of my duathlon particularly, I've been working with a guy called Tim Phillips at Catalonia Cycle Coaching. So
Okay.
both him and my mum have been working together to get my plan kind of sorted from the cycling, running, and if I decide to do any triathlon, add in the swimming bits. So yeah, once we've had a look at the A races, everything slots in. Monday to Sunday, I kind of do the same routine pretty much. I try to get kind of an off-season block in, which normally tends to be between November and January time. So BUCS Duathlon's always in November, and then my next duathlon races don't seem to start again until February. So I kind of take that as a bit of off-season time where I have a couple of weeks completely off, and then it's all about just enjoyable, slow, long, enjoyable things. Do a lot of weight training that period as well. So I have a strength and conditioning coach at the university who works with me, and so we kind of build a base from there. And then from kind of January, February onwards, we'll start to ramp up the training depending on when my races fall in the year. It's quite a bit of a logistical nightmare trying to compete both duathlons and triathlons, but we've somehow managed to fit it in so far. But the main A races are definitely the World European Duathlon Championships. So some competing towards those and everything else. Hopefully it goes well.
Yeah. That's true. So what's your favourite distance?
That's a really good question. I haven't quite decided. So I normally compete sprint distance duathlon at European Championships and standard distance at Worlds, and I've got into the cycle of doing it through pre-qualifying. And I quite like doing both. Sprint I love, especially since it's become draft legal, I absolutely love that aspect of it, and it's really fast and furious. My last kind of two big races, it's all come down to the last run. So I feel like I'm kind of properly in that kind of, similar to the ITU guys, that it seems like that sort of setup. Whereas standard distance, it's very much a time trial, and it's obviously longer. I think it's definitely harder, physically harder on the body. You don't get the same kind of lung and heart burn as you do in sprints, but your legs are absolutely knackered, and normally I really struggle to walk the day after a standard. So I can't quite decide. And then to kind of add into the mix, I did my first middle distance triathlon last year, and I absolutely loved the kind of tempo of that race.
Yeah.
Even you had time to like walk through a transition with a thing, you had time to go to the loo if you wanted to. It was a whole different intensity, but then the fatigue at the end was also something very different.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to have a go at middle distance duathlons, maybe see if that mirrors that sort of thing. So I couldn't say I particularly prefer one or the other, but I like doing a mix.
It's good. Well, it's good to keep your options open. Any plans on long distance?
No.
Oh, that was a categoric no there.
Well, I keep having kind of odd ideas, because my boyfriend's done 2 Ironmans. He's always like, oh, when I do my third, you should do it with me. And I'm like, oh, but... And when I think about it, I think last year I very nearly entered Ironman Barcelona this year, but I mean it's been cancelled anyway, so it wouldn't have happened. But what just really gets me is especially like the long bikes you have to do in training, it's just having the time to do it doesn't really fit in with my life at the moment.
Sure.
I mean, I'd like to in the future, but I quite like the fact that, yeah, you can be a bit more kind of short and sharp, but I do like the intensity still. I don't want to just be doing long endurance stuff just yet.
Yeah. Good. And what's your favourite part of the whole process?
In terms of racing?
Well, just from start to finish.
I love the race as a whole, because when you train, yes, you might do the odd BUCS sessions, but you never really get the whole start to finish racing experience. And I love the, I think first run where you have your fresh legs, and then you come into the transition part, I think, is just a whole other element which you can't really fully simulate in training. And then you go onto the bike and you're trying to recover and get a good bike going. And then before you know it, it's time to get off your bike and do that final run, and you're trying to change your shoes over as quickly as possible. And then the final run, you're just completely zapped and you've just got to give it all you can. So I think just the whole event of racing I absolutely love, and that's why this year's been so hard. Like, I love training, I love going for bike rides, I love running, I love the odd swim, but when you put it all together, that's my absolute favourite part, and that's why I like racing. So, yeah.
Hints and tips for anybody listening who's new to the sport, or like multi-sport as a whole, or who wants to get into age group racing, either duathlon or triathlon.
I would say getting a coach is really important. It gives you, especially a good one who you can talk to and talk about your life, because I mean, pretty much all of us don't do this full time. You've got other lives going on,
Yeah.
and you fit your training around, and so it's about being the most time efficient you can, and a coach can really help you with that, as well as plan your training so that you are improving. Quite often people who are self-trained kind of end up in this plateau, and if you've got someone else who's kind of looking down upon it, they can spot where you can kind of improve, or things you can tweak to make your training different, and it makes it more interesting.
Sure.
So definitely getting a coach is really important. I definitely don't get psyched out or worked up by other people's equipment. So I remember turning up to races and looking at people's bikes and thinking, oh my god, these people have £8,000 bikes, and I'm here on my road bike with clip-on bars, but I'd still beat them. And I'm just like, well, it doesn't really, your equipment, it can kind of psych you out, but it's not, don't get worked up about it. And also don't think, oh, someone looks really pro at a race. Just try not to look at everyone around you and just focus on your own race and what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And obviously at the moment where it's all racing is, if it's happening, it's in time trial format, so even more so it's important to focus on you, your watch, your times, and not everyone else going on around you. So those are kind of two main things. I would be quite tactical about, I mean, multisport's great because there's so many different racing options. I remember when I was thinking about trying to get into age group racing, I knew that my triathlon probably wouldn't be quite good enough to qualify yet because of my swim. However, running was my thing and cycling I was working on, so I knew that was the perfect sort of format for me. Obviously you've got aquabike, you've got aquathlon as well, you've got various distances, and I think it's important to have a go at a variety of them and see what works really well for you. If you really want to qualify for something, there's generally a race format which works well for you. And then also have a look at the qualifiers and have a look at who else is going to be racing there and where you're more likely to get that qualifying spot in some races compared to others based on popularity and that sort of thing.
Yeah, great tips. Great, you know, it's so true. Doing your research on the competitions always a good one, where you can choose your races then to see if you've got a chance or not. Yeah, I know it's definitely the way I look at it when I'm trying to qualify. Yeah, wise words there, Megan. Wise words. What's your favourite piece of kit?
My turbo. I absolutely love my turbo. Especially obviously since this year in lockdown and the weather in the UK. I'm very much a fair weather cyclist, and I don't like being cold and wet. So the turbo, and especially also when it's something that's really easy to get out for a ride.
Yeah.
It's only action push pushes down and down now. So the turbo, you don't have to worry about traffic and going. You can really actually estimate time to put some good music on. Kind of end up into a bubble of happiness. I've recently just got a direct drive one, which has completely transformed my turboing game. So yeah, my turbo I would absolutely recommend to anyone, and especially at the moment because we're going into winter.
Yeah.
Might have lockdown again, maybe reduced opportunities to go outside. A turbo training I think is absolutely essential for triathlons.
Yeah, again, great. It is a great piece of kit. What turbo have you got, or just got? Did you say?
I've just got a Wahoo Kicker Core.
Oh, nice. Yep.
So they're the cheaper one, but it had really good reviews.
Yeah.
It's basically silent. My direct drive one was annoying the neighbours, and
Right. Yeah.
So, and it just feels like you're out on the road. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. And are you linked up to any programs?
Yeah, I am a Zwifter now.
Ah.
I completely reject the idea of stuff and thought, no, you don't need a computer game to motivate you to train, but now I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I've been doing some virtual racing
Yeah.
with my cycle team. I enter kind of time trials just to race myself at the moment when there's not a lot going on. You can do group rides with people, so I quite often go on there with my mum and we chat on Discord.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, so that's really good. You feel like, especially when you're quite isolated at the moment, I think Zwift has definitely given me kind of, it feels like you're out riding with other people.
Yeah.
We set up a virtual chain gang, which is really cool. Yeah, I wouldn't go back. I absolutely love so far.
Yeah, because it's so much more than a virtual reality game, as you said. It's like you say, it's got everything you need. You know, I've been on it quite a bit myself for a few years, and it's just, you say to people and say, I'd rather ride outside. Well, yeah, I'd rather ride outside as well. Weather being right and traffic conditions and everything else, but for you being in London, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, definitely. It's just challenging in London. You need the time to get a good ride in, and I mean, I can climb virtual Mount Ventoux from my back garden.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And set a time to do it and try and beat that time.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. The app's my favourite one at the moment for trying to beat my time. It's a little bit shorter than 1:2, but yeah, it's nice. It's a challenge. It switches things up. It keeps you interested. I really like it.
Thank you for coming back on and digging me out of a hole. I don't know what happened, but anyway, we'll carry on from where we left off, and I think that was where the podcast finished. And I think the next question was going to be your long and short-term goals for the future.
Yeah, so obviously at the moment, short-term goals are quite difficult because I don't really know what next year's going to bring. I'm in my final year of my course, and my plan was to get one good summer of racing in before graduating as a doctor next year. Hopefully I might still be able to get some races in. I've qualified for both European and World Duathlon and World Triathlon Championships next year, so if those can take place and fit in with my life, then I'd quite like to do those and obviously try and do well. And yeah, any racing I can get in prior to starting work could be great. And then in the long term, I think I've got 2 very difficult years ahead. My first 2 years as a doctor, where I think I will have to kind of damp it down a bit and maybe do some more kind of long distance, less intensity, but just kind of stay generally fit and maybe do a few races. But then I want to take a year out after that before I start specialty training and maybe do duathlon full time for a year. Potentially go over to France and do some racing in their professional league over there would be quite cool. And yeah, just have a whole year of racing before I start to focus back on my career again would be kind of the long-term goal. But we'll see what happens.
Good. Well, it's good to have both short-term and long-term goals, even though we don't know what's going to happen in the future. It just keeps us motivated and going, doesn't it? Been a couple of charities. Do you want to explain a little bit about those?
Yeah, so I work with BUCS, which is the UK's largest eating disorder charity, and I started getting involved with them a couple of years ago now, and so I kind of help run the university kind of sector of it, and it's a charity quite close to me because I've had a few family members quite seriously affected by eating disorders, and I've suffered with my own disordered eating patterns in the past, and probably a bit of RED-S in hindsight, which is relative energy deficiency in sport. And so I'm quite passionate about kind of raising awareness, especially university students who can be quite a stressful time. And if you're someone who's prone to kind of eating disorders or using food as a way to kind of control your emotions and everything going on, it's nice to be able to support people. I know a lot of families, carers, mums, brothers, sisters can struggle quite a lot with how to cope if they've got a family member with an eating disorder. So I'm quite passionate about raising awareness about support groups and that sort of thing. And in terms of sports, I'm quite passionate about, I think there's now, there's been a big increase in awareness about eating disorders in sports, and whether it be an actual formal eating disorder or this RED-S, so it's kind of not really realising that your energy demands are kind of fitting your training balance and everything else going on with your life. A lot of people can kind of not necessarily intentionally, but end up losing weight. You can impact your metabolic health, your bone health, pick up stress fractures, lowered energy, lowered mood. And whether that be intentional or unintentional, I think it's really important to kind of raise awareness about the importance of fueling your exercise and your training properly, and making sure that you're recovering well to kind of increase both your health as an athlete, but also just your general health and well-being long term. So yeah.
But athletic point of view, is that really common then?
I mean, I think it's very common, especially in endurance sports, and we're hearing a lot of stories of kind of professional athletes, elite athletes, but also age group athletes coming forwards at the moment where they've either had a formal eating disorder or they've kind of got into, kind of slipped into this red S sort of thing. And I think in a sport where for a long time people thought lighter equals faster, we've now realised that that's not necessarily true. And especially in females, if as soon as you start losing your period because you're not eating enough, that is a really bad sign of things to come, things like fractures, injuries. And so yeah, it's very common, and I think there's been a lot more said at the moment. So Train Brave is a great initiative set up, which talks all about eating disorders and disordered eating in sport. And I highly recommend all endurance athletes have a look, and it really opened up my eyes to how much I really need to fuel and focus on recovery and the right sort of foods you're eating. But also your relationship with food. I don't think it should be as strict as we often, some people are, and it's just really important to have a nice balance, both in your training, both what you're eating, in order to just be healthy as an athlete and healthy as a human being, really.
Yeah, healthy lifestyle all around, eh?
Yeah.
So where can the listeners...
if you just Google it will come up.
Yeah.
There's also got Twitter pages, Instagram pages. So it's one particular dietitian I know kind of associated with it is Renee McGregor, who is awesome. I've been to a few of her talks, and I highly recommend following her on Instagram. She's just so knowledgeable. She's a specific eating disorders in sport kind of dietitian, and she's so knowledgeable about all these things. And there's lots of resources on the website, lots of athlete stories, lots of information about Red S, and links to support. If you feel like that might be something that you might be having issues with, then it's definitely worth reading a bit more about it and making yourself aware. Yeah, definitely.
Your professional career going forward, what does that entail? What are you hoping to do?
So my end goal is I think that I want to become a GP. I'm really interested in kind of the holistic approach to medicine. I like not just the kind of medical side, but people's social lives, what they're doing, exercise, food, that sort of thing. And I think general practice gives you a really nice ground to be able to discuss all those things with people. I'm also really passionate about public health and getting people active and moving, and also both kind of people who need to be more active, but also people who are maybe too active at the moment. And I think hopefully in that sort of role, I'll be able to help all sorts of people out. I'm actually currently on a general practice placement at the moment. I've been there for 6 weeks now, and I absolutely love it. And every day I come home, and I'm so happy there. So I'm sat in at a local GP practice, and I am involved because I'm now in my final year. I get a little bit more responsibility. It's quite a lot of telephone calls at the moment, but I quite often kind of start and lead the calls. People with all sorts of issues, and we decide whether they need to come into the surgery or not, if we can kind of deal with their problems over the phone. If a patient comes into the practice, I get to see them first, take a history, examine them, and then I present to the GP I'm with, and we discuss management going forwards. So I do that kind of 9 till 5 pretty much every day at the moment, completely unpaid, part of my learning, but it's really great, and it's the satisfaction I get from helping people. I just know that this is the sort of career I definitely want to go into. It's been a long old slog. I mean, I've been at uni for 8 years now, and to become a GP, it's going to be another 6 years from when I start next August. Right. So at least I start getting paid next August, which is always good.
Good.
But then I have 2 years of foundation training, and then 4 years of specialty training to become a GP.
Excellent. So you only, although you've been doing it 8 years, you've still got quite a long way
Yeah, it's a longer pathway, but I think what's quite nice about medicine is it's quite defined career progression. So you have your top end goal, and you are as of next August, I am a doctor, but you are at the bottom of the pile, and you're just working your way up to where you want to be. You're still seeing patients, you're getting paid a salary, you are a doctor. It's just various years that you have to tick off and experiences that you have to get to kind of get to that end position, really.
Cool. Well, best of luck with that, and I hope it all goes well. And we'll be keeping an eye out not only in your athletic ability and tasks and ventures, and also how you're getting on medically as well. So that's really cool. I believe you had a race at the weekend.
I did, yes.
So you're one of the lucky ones of this year of 2020. So do you want to tell us a little bit how it went? Because we're all envious, obviously.
Yeah, it was great. So I raced a standard distance duathlon at Newcastle last weekend. It was really great. I haven't done a standard distance duathlon, I think, since last year now, and I kind of went into it knowing it would be quite hilly, knowing it would be a bit undulating. But the course was amazing 10k off-road, which is quite a nice thing, quite common in age group racing. You get these multi-lap, quite boring courses, but this was really nice. Completely off-road though, which was fun. You had to pace yourself quite well. The bike was 40k, rolling. There was never a flat part on the bike, which was also interesting. Unfortunately, on my way out on the bike, I managed to lose all of my nutrition.
Oh.
So I had two gels strapped to my top bar, and they both came off over these speed bumps coming out of transition. And only when I looked down to go and grab my first gel, I thought, this is going to be interesting. I just had a bottle of water on the bike, but I thought I'm feeling okay, so hopefully it'll be all right. And I was, it was pretty good. I went on to my last 5k run, and I was pretty knackered. So it wasn't my best run off the bike, but I finished third overall in the end. I was only 2 minutes off first. It was quite close. I actually thought I was second, but frustratingly, because we were staggered times, I didn't realise there was a lady behind me who had caught up a minute on me, which was a bit frustrating. But I had the fastest bike time and fastest transition, so I was really happy with that.
Brilliant.
And it was just nice to be out racing. I think I did it to enjoy it, really. Position was a bonus. It's just nice to race on a fun, beautiful course in the countryside. So yeah, it was good.
And how was it all set up with COVID then? What were the precautions?
Yeah, so you had to fill out questionnaires prior to racing, and you're only allowed one spectator to come and watch you as well, who also had to fill out a form. You got temperature scanned when you came in, and you were put in this kind of holding pen before you could go into the main event village, and you had to be there at a set time according to your wave. So my race wasn't actually till 1 p.m. There was racing all morning, so I was only allowed to arrive at a specific time. And then it was all very socially distanced as you went through and into transition. And there was kind of a flow, so you couldn't go back to your car. You had to have everything ready to go.
Right.
Got all your registration bits, then into transition. You racked your bike. They were more spread out than usual, which is quite nice. And then went straight from there to the start. And then we all set off kind of a rolling start every 10 seconds or so.
Right.
So those were the kind of main precautions. It was good. I mean, it was quite a busy event. I have said to them, I think you tried to squeeze too many races in one day.
How many was taking part?
So there were 76 in the duathlon race.
Right.
So, I mean, pretty big field, and we were all really nicely spread out. I wouldn't even realise there were 76 there. And then there were a few other races kind of that morning. I think there was a middle distance triathlon, Olympic triathlon. I have to say, I did not envy the triathletes. The water was 12 degrees.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I would not want to be swimming in that.
Yeah, I've been watching the Outlaw X people that have done that on Instagram, and they were talking about the temperature of the water. It had been reduced to 750 if you'd seen that. So
yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I
think a similar thing happened at Hever, but I think they went down to 1k in the end for the middle distance. But I'm not surprised. They came out looking freezing, and I thought, I'm so glad I'm a duathlete.
Yeah, love duathlon, me.
yeah, it was great. I didn't have cold feet. I could have my socks on throughout the whole time. It was perfect duathlon temperature. It was nice.
Yeah, well, we're used to the winter when we're doing duathlons, aren't we? So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was like tropical. It was it was a proper winter weather for duathlon.
Brilliant. Well done. So that's it. Is it for the year? No more races.
Well, so in November we should hopefully, subject to COVID, have BUCS duathlon at Castle Coombs on the 22nd of November.
Okay.
I'm hoping it should be able to take place. It's organised by BUCS, who have been doing racing all the way through the summer, some really good kind of socially distanced time trial races. So I'm hoping it will take place. So my plan is to kind of move on, because it's a 2-mile run, 10-mile bike, 2-mile run.
Right.
So it's quite kind of short, fast and furious. So my plan is to kind of cut down my distance and kind of increase the intensity over the next few weeks. I'm quite busy with uni things, so actually if I can get the most time efficient strenuous sessions in, that would be great.
It'll fit in.
Build towards that, and then have some time off after that before whatever next year holds, really.
Good. Right, thank you very much. I think it's a good place to end it. And thank you once again for coming back on and rescuing AMP, the podcast.
That's all right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, that was a great insight into how Megan juggles her career to be a doctor and fitting multi-sport training and racing into a busy schedule, as well as a charity work which is close to her heart. And if you'd like to know more about either charity, you can find Train Brave on Instagram at train_brave, and also on the internet at trainbrave.org. And you can find Beat Eating Disorders on Instagram at eatingdisorders_voice, and the webpage is beateatingdisorders.org.uk. And that's it for another episode. You've been listening to me, Richard Conway, at AMP. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can email us at agegroup_multisportpodcast@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at amp_67, on Facebook at ampgb, and Twitter at agegroup_multisportpodcast. And we would really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating, a review, or a comment, and subscribe to our podcast. And remember, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.